partners with this project, funding and support from Jobs Ohio. Also want to thank everyone that has been a part of our stakeholder interviews, and then also the particular visits that we've done to both Bellefontaine and our team being in East Palestine. Just on that note, I'll introduce you. This is Kane Strickland. So Kane is one of the researchers on our consulting team and was a part of the process of drafting the report and recommendations today. This is my colleague, Ann Donnelly. Ann is also on the consulting team and was a part of both the Bellefontaine visits when stakeholders visited Bellefontaine, and then also when our team was on the ground in East Palestine as well. And this is my colleague, Nick Davis. Nick is also going to be driving and sharing and leading a lot of the report today. And on that note, I'm just going to turn things over to Ann to provide a little bit of context for those that maybe weren't on some of the site visits, a little bit about that process and how that went.
Okay, so first, I see some familiar faces from when you came to Bellefontaine, Chris and Mike. It's good to see you again. So great to see you all. We did the Here and There tour, which is informally when we bring all of you, and I think there are some people that I haven't personally met when we bring you to Bellefontaine, as you remember, and we spend about 6 to 7 hours going through our retail, going through our restaurants, sharing stories, kind of creating the framework of Bellefontaine as our beta for what we've done over the past 15 years to go from 80% boarded up and closed to bringing vitality and all the necessary pieces back to life to make it one of Ohio's, we believe, best shopping, retail, food, dining destinations, focusing on the downtown. We then, and I regret that I was not able to be there when we headed in that direction. We had to make a last minute change due to, I think, a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Yes, and but then headed up, I've heard nothing but I feel like every detail from Jason and Nick that I feel like I was there, from just getting to experience your amazing spaces and places, and so we're just going to kind of go from there.
On that note, Nick Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. So I will go ahead and share my screen, which has the report. Hopefully you all received the report and had a chance to review that before today. So I will go ahead and get that up.
And just to confirm that you can see that, if you want to indicate a thumbs up on your Zoom, just to make sure that we can make sure everyone sees a copy of the slides.
So we'll do this in a few different parts today. First, an overview of the report. We'll talk about some stories in Bellefontaine, which is a recap for those who were able to visit, but something new, just as background for those of you who weren't able to visit when you guys came to Bellefontaine. We'll go over our building blocks for what we feel are building blocks for a downtown. We'll discuss our assessment of current conditions in East Palestine, and then we'll move to our recommendations. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to interrupt, or you can use the chat feature on Zoom, and we'll be able to see those and answer your questions as they come. So first, a little background of Small Nation, just what we've been able to do in downtown Bellefontaine, starting with the purchasing and renovating of over 56 historic buildings and storefronts in the downtown by investing over $33 million of new private capital into the downtown. So that's privately raised money. It's not government grants or tax credits or anything like that, and it's led to the creation of over 180 new downtown jobs in our downtown community, which has led to downtown Bellefontaine being named as one of Ohio's best hometowns. Just a few stats. Downtown Bellefontaine has the city is about 14,000 people, so a little bit bigger than East Palestine. Still a relatively small median income, and the success of a downtown really revolves around every piece of the downtown working together, which is public spaces, historic buildings, private businesses, arts and culture, infrastructure, all working together. So these things need to complement each other and support each other in order to have that delicate balancing act in a downtown. One of the most difficult components to develop these is a thriving and successful business climate. We've seen a lot of challenges over the last few years that make retail and service-oriented businesses in downtowns particularly exposed to headwinds and difficulties, which is the point of this presentation and things that we'll go into today. So recent trends over the last few years have shown us that there is a renewed interest in small town and rural communities, with towns like Bellefontaine and like East Palestine experiencing increased attention for a multitude of reasons. People, particularly coming out of the pandemic, are starting to favor less dense and more affordable towns that can also support their social lifestyle that they had when they were in a bigger city like Columbus or Cleveland, or Pittsburgh is relatively closer to East Palestine. Because of the rise of remote work over the last few years, it has enabled this shift and allowed people to really prioritize their quality of life, affordability, proximity to family, over traditional job locations. So this trend has also led to increased rural tourism through day trips that we see all the time in downtown Bellefontaine, a heightened desire for community belonging, and a stronger support for local businesses instead of national chains. So because of all of these trends, we feel that communities like East Palestine are really well positioned to capitalize on these trends by enhancing your existing assets while adding new amenities that will attract and retain residents. Of course, the thing everyone has been talking about for now 2 years now was the change derailment a couple years ago, which brought a host of challenges that impacted the community. We don't need to go into all those challenges right now. You guys are very familiar with those. But amidst these challenges, we feel that the community has really demonstrated resilience, and it has also sparked a wave of new opportunities for East Palestine's growth and development. Of course, the response has brought unprecedented levels of attention and resources to the village. The investments that Norfolk Southern has committed to address environmental cleanups and invest in public amenities such as the park renovation are some of those resources, to name a few. These projects not only address your immediate needs, but also create a foundation for future economic revitalization and improved quality of life. All of this has also galvanized you all and galvanized community efforts to reimagine and reinvest in your downtown and your community's infrastructure. So grants and partnerships have emerged to support small businesses, addressing vacant properties and pursuing new development opportunities. Projects such as the train depot, creating other mixed-use properties and expanding downtown amenities are now, as we've seen with all of you, gaining momentum thanks to increased awareness and funding, and the problem also created a catalyst for collaboration among all of your local leaders, businesses, and residents. So we feel that the train derailment has really opened the door to transformative opportunities in East Palestine. One thing that we'll talk about later on in the presentation, but one resource we want to highlight right away is the Jobs Ohio Environment Communities Program. We recommended this program for a few different properties when we get to the recommendations, but this program focuses on generating reinvestments in distressed communities. There are communities that are below 75,000 in population and at or above the state's average poverty rate. East Palestine, as well as Bellefontaine and many hundreds of communities around the state, qualify for this grant, which is a grant of up to $1 million. And we feel that East Palestine would be an excellent candidate for funding through this program by leveraging your local Jobs Ohio and actually have a typo there, your local Jobs Ohio and I think you guys are in the new Lake to River region relationships, as well as, of course, Mike Jacoby, who is an incredible advocate for all of you and for this program. Another thing that we've seen over the last few years is the surge of entrepreneurship. We've seen record-breaking numbers of new business applications over the last few years. So there really is an opportune moment for communities to support and attract new businesses. So by highlighting successful revitalization efforts in similar communities, that provides inspiration and credibility for your own growth strategy. We'll talk about next our work in Bellefontaine, Ohio, and this is something to look to that will drive inspiration in East Palestine. This is how we did it. It all started with the one thing that everybody loves, which is food. So back when we first started in 2010, 2011, about 80% of the storefronts in downtown Bellefontaine were vacant and boarded up, and nearly 100% of the upper floors. There just really wasn't anything going on. Jason here, our founder and CEO, knew that no one else was going to do it, so he figured he might as well do it. So there was this vacant building right across the street from our courthouse on Main Street that used to be an old department store. That's not vacant for a few decades, and Jason ended up purchasing it at a sheriff's sale. And like I said, he knew that in order to get everything going, it started with the one thing everyone loves, which is food. And at the time, about 30 minutes north of Bellefontaine in Kenton, there was this pizza place, Michelangelo's Pizza, which the owner, Michael Shepard, was a very well-known, world-famous pizza chef, had won multiple awards at the World Pizza Games, and everyone loved his pizza because he used really delicious sauce, handmade dough every day, had these delicious garlic knots. He had a few locations north of Bellefontaine, Kenton being his main one, but also East Liberty, Rushsylvania. And so Jason went up to Michael one day and let him know that he had just purchased this property in downtown Bellefontaine and asked if he'd be interested in opening up another location. And he, of course, said no.
No.
He said there's nothing going on in Bellefontaine, no one's coming downtown, he's not going to do it. So fast forward a few months, Jason goes back up, he asks again, and he says no for a second time. He goes up a few months later because that's the kind of guy he is, he's very persistent. And while he was up there at this Michelangelo's Pizza place, everyone in there was saying hi to him. Jason was going up to them, saying hi to them. They all knew him. And Michael comes out and asks Jason, how do you know all these people in my restaurant? And he told him it's because all these people are traveling 35, 45 minutes north from Bellefontaine in order to have your product because this is what they want. We don't have anything like it in Bellefontaine. So knowing this, will you at least come and check out the building? And so on the third try, he finally said yes, because no is just a delayed version of yes. And so Michael comes down, tours the property. It hadn't been used in a while, so it needed some significant renovations, but it still had good bones, it still had the original tin ceiling, and it had this beautiful water feature right in the middle of the building every time that it rained, which isn't great for having a restaurant, but...
let's just say the building was in rough shape. But the prescriptive lesson, as Nick's describing, as we walk through a number of buildings in East Palestine, is just like this building in Bellefontaine that had good bones. It was located in a walkable area of downtown and had beautiful architecture characteristics that you can't duplicate today. And so this case study of the catalytic product being a sit-down dining restaurant that moved into building more restaurants that wanted to locate near this one is also similarly what I think for East Palestine is getting that vibrant ecosystem working with what the existing business owners that are already there doing state and national things that should be celebrated. We get that story and that word out about them, but also find businesses we can cluster next to that want to be a part of that.
So together, Jason and Michael were able to dream up what ended up becoming 600 downtown, which is now an award-winning pizza restaurant. It's called 600 because all the pizzas are baked in these amazing brick ovens at 600 degrees Fahrenheit. This lovely lady right here is Brittany Saxon. She started with Michael at 14 years old at his Kenton restaurant, first as a pizza chef, or first as a dishwasher, and then a line cook, a pizza chef, assistant manager, and came down and opened 600 with him and became general manager. After 5 years, Michael was ready to move on, and Jason and Explanation worked with Brittany to actually purchase the business from Michael Shepard, and now Brittany is the owner of 600 Downtown. She's a 6-time World Pizza Champion, and she's been on the Food Network twice to show off her skills. So people like Brittany and businesses like 600 were really the catalyst for the downtown revitalization in downtown Bellefontaine. This is just a before and after of what the building looked like when it was purchased. in the sheriff's sale in 2010, 2011 timeframe, and what it looks like today with completely renovated loft apartments upstairs and a beautiful patio for when the weather's warm, which really adds to the life and vibrancy and drama of the downtown streetscape.
These are just providing a few financial metrics. You know, in the case of Bellefontaine 15 years ago, we had a problem that East Palestine does not. We had a lot of empty, vacant buildings. Blight and is not nearly the problem that we have in East Palestine, but you see it takes a large amount of capital to renovate these buildings, and that's another piece we'll talk about in some of the recommendations. But investing in small town real estate can produce and be self-sustainable on its own. And today the restaurant generates a significant amount of income. The business has been in existence for over 13 years. And the operator, my business partner, Brittany, I brag and I talk about, and I'm proud of this, Brittany is a millionaire. She has been able to make enough profit in her business to buy her own home. She is financially self-sufficient and able to invest in now multiple businesses in our town. She just acquired a historic church in Bellefontaine, is making that a new event venue. And so we like to celebrate people like Brittany and her success for taking that risk and starting a restaurant in town that has also been a catalyst.
So in all of the case studies on the presentation, we won't go through every single one of them, but they all have a link to the actual case study itself, which you can also find on our website. That's smallandstrong.com/success. So if you want to learn more specifically about the projects and how they came to be, you can always go to their individual case studies. So 2011, we have a really great place downtown to get dinner. Now people are starting to come downtown. There's foot traffic. You start seeing retail stores pop up now because there is the people downtown. But there isn't really a place for someone to go after they get dinner, a place to get a unique craft beer or just hang out and watch a sports game. And that's when these three got together. So Adam, the gentleman in the middle, Adam Ramel, was one of Jason's first employees, and he is still our vice president of sales and marketing for the company. And he was doing a really great job doing sales and marketing for the company, and he was kind of getting to the point where he could have left, made more money somewhere else. But Jason didn't want to leave him, but he couldn't also afford at the time to pay him more money. So Jason asked him, what can we do to provide you more value so you can stay here as part of the team? And he said he always had this dream of opening a bar, which Jason thought he was crazy because he had just got married, he has a kid on the way, nothing good could come of this, but it just might work. At the same time, we have a historic atmospheric theater in our downtown called the Holland Theater. And it, like many of the buildings in our downtown, fell into disrepair, and so the community really came together to raise millions and millions of dollars to historically renovate this historic theater.
And just to highlight, the millions of dollars to save the theater, it took about 10 years to get the focus and the spotlight on that. In the beginning, to save the theater, there was a group of fourth graders that wrote a play that tugged on the heartstrings of the community for people to start funding to save the historic theater. And it happened to be after people started putting a spotlight, wanting to get arts and wanting to get events and things back to the theater, this group of guys, the Bellefontaine Body Bearding Club, when I say beard, think of facial hair, beard, they founded a club of 28 guys that were based in Bellefontaine that would compete in bearding competitions around the country. And it just happened that they hosted an event inviting other bearded clubs to come to Bellefontaine, to come to our theater. I'm really happy that I went. The theater was in rough shape, did not have heating and cooling at the time. The fire department provided temporary occupancy so we could do things in the space. But what I learned at that event is I listened to great music, I ate great food, and I drank some of the most unique craft beer that I've ever had. And the marriage of the connection of Adam meeting these guys that had a club that people in our community loved and wanted to see them be successful was the beginning of a craft beer bar called the Brew Fountain in Bellefontaine. And you'll see from the next slide, the building started in a place that did not have a floor, did not have a roof. but today has been the number
Literally.
one. Yeah, today is the number one craft beer bar in Ohio, and it's been voted that for the last 6 years by the Craft Brewers Association. So you start to see of these elements, and the reason why we kind of start out these presentations with a little bit of storytelling is a lot of these common elements that you have in your town and some of the desires and goals. It's just starting to put some of those pieces of the puzzle together.
So this officially opened in 2015, and after this opened, you have the good place to get dinner that starts building foot traffic in the downtown. You have a good place to go afterwards and get a nice craft beer, but they also have soups, sandwiches, salads for lunch. Now you're starting to build that capacity in the downtown, and after this opened in 2015, everything just kind of skyrocketed from there, which takes us to where we're at today. Looking back at those statistics, over 56 historic buildings and storefronts, over 180 new downtown jobs, and a lot of these other projects that we'll briefly touch on before we get to the next part of the presentation. The Syndicate is our only new build in the downtown out of all those properties. This came from those same three guys because the building that they were in, as you can see, is very small, and people are always wanting to rent out space, have parties, whatever. And that's when they kind of figured out they can't have them there, but the downtown is very underserved in the events business. So they took the empty lot next door, they purchased that lot, and they came up with the Syndicate, which is on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays for brunch. Really great place to get a steak or get brunch like mimosa flights, eggs Benedict, stuff like that. And throughout the week, they can host other events like dueling pianos, beer pairings, stuff like that.
And you can see this was a big check to write. There was about a $2 million cost in terms of new construction. But I will share, and this is kind of helpful to some of the ideas being discussed in East Palestine. In the back side of this, there's a food truck lot. There is an outdoor entertainment pavilion that basically is a shipping container that was used, that a stage door was cut into it. So from May through September, there's live music that's happening at the Syndicate on evenings and weekends. And so it was a massive investment, but it also has a great catering kitchen. It has a liquor license. There's a lot of flexibility in this space. And then also our town, really within about 45 minutes, there was not a place to get brunch and what I would call more of a elevated brunch. So things like chicken and waffles, mimosa flights. And people, when you elevated the food, people chose to come to what was an underrated town because the food and the dining was a great experience. So there's a deeper case study that shows more pictures and information about that project.
The Main Street Marketplace is another one of our very first projects that Small Nation did early on, and it's basically like a mini mall or a mini indoor Main Street, as the title suggests, where it's really our small business incubator space. So we've taken a building that used to be a G.C. Murphy's department store, partitioned it into little individual spaces, and lease them out to office spaces or new businesses, just trying to get going, so that way they can figure out their business model and get on their feet. We, as the landlord in the Main Street Marketplace, we pay for all the utilities, the electric, water, sewer, internet, all that kind of stuff. The tenant just has to pay rent, which is, of course, a much smaller rent price than it would be at a traditional storefront. And they also don't have to sign a personal guarantee because that way, if it doesn't work out, they're not losing their house or anything like that, because we want it to be that space for people to figure out their business model, get started, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So we're completely occupied in the marketplace right now. Just got this beautiful refreshed facade. And it's anchored by two major businesses. One is a salon, the Undertone on Main Salon. What's great about having that there is it's full of different service providers who every hour are bringing in new customers who come into the building, and while they're in there, they discover a new boutique that's across the hall, or they discover the photography business that's in there. And then it's also anchored by the Morning Riot, which is a relatively new breakfast and lunch place in the Main Street Marketplace that's open 6 days a week from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and is a constant driver of bringing in people to eat lunch or eat breakfast there, but that then go and support the other businesses in the building. The loft above is our very first Airbnb unit that we did in downtown Bellefontaine. Up until, well, a few weeks from now when our new hotel opens, downtown Bellefontaine and the Logan County as a whole has been very underserved in the lodging sphere. We only had 2 hotels on the north end of town that truthfully were not great hotels. So there was not really anywhere for people to stay at to have a quality lodging experience when they came into town. So we developed this second floor property as loft above, which is a kind of a luxury Airbnb, and rents go from anywhere between $250 to $300 a night, depending on the time of year and what day of week. But we found quickly that this was a need in the community, and it's been booked over 80% of the time, which is actually higher than a normal hotel. So because of loft above, this has given us the confidence to renovate 7 more Airbnbs in the downtown with a single operator who runs them all, who has been inspired to open more Airbnbs in the downtown, and she's found great success with this. Loft 110, going from lodging to residential. Loft 110 is the first residential project that we did above 600 downtown, right across from the courthouse on Main Street. So these were done in about 2015, 2016 at a cost of about $1 million for 6 residential units, which at the time Jason's accountant told him was the stupidest investment he'll ever make because he'll never get his return of investment. However, where some people, like accountants, only see value in dollars and cents, we see value in the types of people who are actually moving into these loft apartments, which I'll get to in a second. First, I'll show you some of the finishes. These are definitely our highest end finishes of all the units that we have in the downtown. Beautifully restored hardwood floors, exposed brick. And these can go anywhere from about $1,000 maybe for a 1-bedroom to $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 for a 2-bedroom, which is a lot for downtown Bellefontaine, but they've been leased with a waiting list ever since they were open.
And just to share, to put a button on this, when the accountant looked at the pro forma for 6 units and the kind of dollars to do these levels of finishes with washer and dryers in every unit, really, high quality amenities. Nothing like this has ever been done in our small town, and even within the region. But here was that's the left brain kind of thinking. The right brain kind of thinking is that we did a loft and hidden spaces tour, partnering up with the local United Way, and we charged $5 a ticket for the community. That was a donation, and the community came out and supported that so well. We had over 300 people that bought tickets and walked through all of the fully furnished loft apartments. In fact, our local furniture store, Tanger's Furniture, staged all the lofts with their product and their furniture. And if you go to the next slide, what it yielded is meeting really high quality people that moved in. And one of our first tenants was this gentleman. His name is Lyle Ensley, and he relocated from Lima, moved into the loft apartment. He loved that it was fully furnished by the local furniture store and wrote a big check to buy all the furniture because he didn't want to carry his stuff up and down the steps. But he fell in love with the town so much that he became an investor and bought the next building and moved an Anytime Fitness into which he operated in another location, brought it into this building, and then merged additional CrossFit location right next door. And having an investor like him in our ecosystem, because we created those residential opportunities and those fully furnished rentals, that is like the right brain part of the equation of who you want to welcome, recruit into your neighborhood and in the downtown. So we just share that as an example, and we provide a link with more of the data behind that case study.
So that $1 million investment that Jason did on 6 loft apartments that his accountant thought was crazy directly led to this $1.5 million investment from Lyle and Anytime Fitness to purchase and renovate this building and move his Anytime Fitness franchise right downtown, which then also goes to support the coffee shops, the restaurants, and other businesses throughout the downtown.
Just probably on this one, because we toured some great places. We have some donuts. It's Sprinkles at your local establishment, but we know how important bakeries are to the ecosystem. Having City Sweets and Creamery, one of the unique things of this project is we found a way to incorporate a drive-through window into a historic building in the downtown. But we provide a little bit more perspective on that case study. Just an effort of time, we're going to kind of breeze through that one.
Build Co-working Space is our version of small town co-working. So we really started coming up with this co-working concept in 2020 when everyone was working from home, and places like Cohatch were starting to spring up all over Ohio and other states like weeds. We had originally reached out to Cohatch to see if they were interested in opening up a Cohatch in downtown Bellefontaine, and they weren't interested, so we decided that we would just develop it ourselves. So we came up with the Build Co-working Space brand, which the first location is in downtown Bellefontaine, as you see here, paired with the Flying Pepper Cantina, which is a authentic Mexican cantina right next door. Our second location is where we're sitting today in Marysville in the Uptown, and we're renovating our third location currently in downtown Piqua. Laura and Humberto are the owners of the Flying Pepper Cantina I just mentioned, that's paired with the co-working facility. Humberto, on the right here, immigrated from Mexico about 15 years ago. He moved to Springfield and started working in the culinary department at Clark State. While he was there, he met his wife Laura, who lives just outside of Bellefontaine in West Liberty. And Humberto saved up all of his money to purchase a food truck off of Craigslist, which he then named the Flying Pepper food truck. It quickly became a local favorite, and Jason went to him one day and asked if he had ever considered opening up a brick and mortar restaurant, and he said yes, he just didn't know how to do it. So we found him the space, and we worked with him and Laura every step of the way to end up designing and creating what ended up becoming the Flying Pepper Cantina. So all of his food is, he uses the freshest ingredients. He has amazing handmade cocktails, delicious tacos and queso and all sorts of stuff. This 1896 is a booth rent retail store. So this is a kind of a unique concept because it is a very large retail store that has some amazing products in it. And what we kind of figured out is the way to compete against the big box retailers and against the Amazons in days like today is by providing products that you're not able to find in any of those stores or on Amazon. So how the model at Nest 1896 works is there's one owner of the store, Susan here, who then rents out individual spaces to different creators. So it could be people who are creating at home and selling on Etsy, or who travel around to different vendor fairs. This gives them an in-person location to send their customers if they want to check out any of their products before they buy it. We charge Susan, the owner, X amount per square foot for rent for the building, and then she charges her booth renters X times 2 amount, and then a 10% commission on the products. So she's always bringing in income, and people are always coming in to see what new products are in the building. So this has been another very successful business in the downtown and a very easy model to rip and duplicate in a place like East Palestine. So that takes us to our building blocks, the 4 things that we think that any successful historic downtown needs. So as you can see throughout all those projects, and that was only a handful of the many that we've done in downtown Bellefontaine, we have developed a deep understanding of Main Street economies through our experience as the primary developer in downtown Bellefontaine. These demographics do closely resemble many rural communities across Ohio, including places like East Palestine. As we talked about earlier, recent economic and population trends have presented rural communities like East Palestine with unprecedented opportunities. Rural areas have experienced a net population increase due to the urban out-migration as people seek affordable housing, greater living space, higher quality of life. We've talked a little bit about that already, and we feel that places like East Palestine are uniquely positioned to capitalize on these trends due to your low barriers to entry, affordable real estate, and available building stock. We'll talk about some of those buildings and the recommendations. But the challenges still remain. How do you catalyze population growth and business development without over-relying on subsidies for each new entity? So we believe that there's four key building blocks for revitalizing downtowns. The first one is a flagship restaurant with a complimentary event or outdoor space. We feel that restaurants are really the primary drivers for foot traffic in any downtown, as we've discovered by developing 600 downtown The Pizza Place. These restaurants can bring hundreds of guests to a downtown district each evening, which surpasses other types of business and consumer volume. People are always seeking authentic, unique dining experiences, making this a critical anchor of business for downtown revitalization. Next is a neighborhood coffee shop. These are also steady drivers of foot traffic throughout the whole day that create a reliable flow of customers for nearby retail businesses. Places like this can also become informal community gathering places that enhance the social life and contribute to the overall downtown experience. Multiple coffee shops are also good to have. We know East Palestine currently does not have a coffee shop in the downtown. We'll talk about that as well later on in the presentation, but there is an opportunity there, and we feel that it would be a critical building block for downtown East Palestine. Next is the fitness facility. What's great about these is they provide consistent traffic across all hours of the day. So specifically before normal business hours and after normal business hours. So people are going to the gym in the morning and then going and getting coffee on their way to work, or they're going after work and maybe picking up dinner to take home to their families afterwards. So these are another, especially a 24/7 fitness facility, are another great thing that helps to drive that traffic and build capacity. And then the fourth one is a co-working and or flexible office space. So the demand for co-working spaces continues to rise, as we've talked about, and professionals who are working remote or working from home still seek professional grade office spaces for work and meetings and networking opportunities. So by offering a well-designed shared office space like the one we're in right now, it can attract these people to East Palestine who will then come and live and work in East Palestine. So that takes us to our assessment of current conditions in East Palestine. Does anyone have any questions on anything that we've discussed so far? Cool. So this is just some background information on East Palestine. Hopefully you guys know all of this stuff, so I won't dig too much into where it's located, its history, stuff like that. You already know all this because that takes us to where we're at today. East Palestine is known for its already affordable cost of living, low crime rates, strong sense of community. It has a very good strategic location near the Pennsylvania border, and the local economy is now a blend of small businesses, local retail, and some light manufacturing. Some notable establishments that that you guys have, retail experiences like 1820 Candle Co., and then of course long-standing businesses such as the True Value Hardware, which are two great businesses to have in the downtown. And then of course East Palestine is in the midst of a significant recovery effort following the train derailment, which is why we're talking with you today, to figure out how we can take this and create opportunities from it and create a more welcoming and innovative community for residents and visitors. So there already is a good retail business culture in downtown East Palestine. Some businesses that we visited while we were there Of course, 1820 Candle Code just mentioned. We were very impressed with this one. And we really do think that it could be an anchor for further development and growth and future retail opportunities in the downtown. Another one is Nini's Collectibles and Gifts, which as we talked with the owner, we learned that she works very closely with neighboring businesses like Cat's Crystals and Flowers Straight from the Heart. They work together and cross-promote and share customers. And this is a really great practice for these businesses to do to help build each other up. Cat's Crystals, we love stopping in there, and we learned that the owner there is very proactive. She created things like the Fall Fest, which she let us know brought significant sales and community engagement to the downtown area. So being able to build on initiatives like that. We're very impressed that you guys still have a True Value Hardware there. As Jason mentioned when we were there, it was one of the cleanest and most well-stocked hardware stores that we've ever been to. And as we discussed with the owner, despite the challenges from the train derailment, they were able to offset their losses by catering to construction-related needs, so they're still relatively going strong. So the dining scene in East Palestine is a blend of long-standing establishments and some evolving businesses. The pizza place recently relocated, and I think by now they have, Lenny, correct me if I'm wrong, finished their renovations. Is that true? Lenny?
At least we had a chance while we were there.
Sorry, Nick. I was navigating my my pointer button, but no, they have not finished reservations. I have stopped in there, multiple times to, kind of ask them, what assistance do they need? Is it financial? Is it manpower? And they kind of be quite reserved. I mean, they're trying to do it on their own, but we have been, quite proactive in telling them, there's resources out there, and anything we can do to please let us help. But it seems to be they are navigate it themselves.
Sure. Got it. Well, the space that we did go through, they were making some really nice improvements and enhancements, and appreciate you having that conversation of what other resources they might need, because it seems like they're very close to the finish line.
And once they are finished and they have that side room designed for events and live music, it really does have the potential to serve as that dining anchor for the downtown, much like 600 did in Bellefontaine. Other places, China Cafe, the long-standing Chinese restaurant, Sprinkles on Top has become a popular spot for morning diners and casual eaters. And then, but there's also opportunities for growth. You can always use more restaurants. People have expressed interest in places like a sandwich shop, a coffee shop, a casual lunch place, and then Dogs on the Run is an example of one that is currently closed, but represents untapped potential for redevelopment. We also loved talking with all of you and with Mike Jacoby about the formation of the new East Palestine Community Improvement Corporation. We have already seen news articles about just like the PNC bank lot that the CIC was able to purchase, and we're excited to see what comes from there. But what's great about the CIC is its ability to act as a development-focused organization with that singular mission of improving the local economy. So it's not bound to regulations and the bureaucratic processes like government entities, so it can move more quickly and do a lot more quicker, which we're really excited for. There are plenty of redevelopment opportunities in East Palestine, of course. One of them being here, 147 North Market Street, that has significant flexibility for future use. This used to be where Mama's Attic was. Another opportunity, the historic train depot, which was a gift to the village by Norfolk Southern. We have a lot of ideas for what could go in there that we'll get to in our recommendations. The former Rite Aid property is another primary development opportunity. Although you all expressed your concerns about its potential high lease costs, but I know a lot of people are kind of waiting to see what happens with that property before they do things like work on the Dogs and Winter property or anything like that. The Skirball's building, which is a very large and historically significant structure, has enormous potential, but as we've discussed, does have some structural issues. And then the former Mason's Lodge, which houses the EPA Community Center, this is a really nice property, very large, spacious space with first floor spaces and really large upper floor spaces as well that have great potential. When we were there, we learned of a lot of different ongoing marketing efforts through the regional partner Lake to River and with WLR Advertising. Just since we've been there, we've seen a lot of the videos and photos and imagery that have put out online, which has been really awesome to see. And we also loved seeing the VIP Shoppers Club promotions throughout the downtown. We think that this is a wonderful program to get people downtown, to get people spending money, which for the business's sake is one of the most important things that they need to be worried about right now. One thing we talked about a lot is that demand for a coffee shop. You know, the owner of Lib's Coffee, which is of course in nearby Salem, he lives in East Palestine, and he's been looking at different properties and having conversations about opening it in East Palestine. So if the community, the CIC can come together, this might be a very easy but also impactful win for the community. Potential locations include the historic train depot. I know they're looking at that. Also the former PNC Bank building, which is now in the ownership of the CIC. But the presence of a new coffee shop would really have a ripple effect on the economy. The park revitalization project is, of course, part of their the Norfolk Southern's Making It Right campaign. I'd be interested to see how this has come along, if at all, since we were there in November. Of course, this is going to take a lot of time, but this is something that, once completed, will bring a lot of new activity to the community, new visitors who will then come downtown since it is relatively close and start spending money in the community. This is just what you guys have already seen, the plans for the park. And then we also know that there is the potential to move the village administration building out of the downtown. There are a lot of mixed reactions about this that we will we'll talk a little bit more about this in our recommendations. And then another thing that everyone loved telling us about is your reputation for affordable consumer products, so gas, alcohol, stuff like that. Being right across the border from Pennsylvania, people are coming across the border to have those cheaper products because it's a little bit more expensive in Pennsylvania. So we have to think to ourselves, okay, you have all these people coming into town to buy these things. What other products or services can we provide to these people to keep them in town longer and strengthen East Palestine's reputation as a destination that offers more than just gas and liquor, to keep them to stay longer and spend more money. And finally, that takes us to our recommendations. Does anyone have any questions as of yet? Anything you guys want to add, Ann, Jason?
I don't have any questions, but just an update. You know, we since last time you guys been here, we are actively looking at a pharmacy. You know, we have local stakeholders that have kind of purchased some space and that are, you know, addressing those issues to, you know, accommodate those people. So those discussions are moving forward. And as far as the Rite Aid building, we have been in discussion with Dollar Tree. There's a couple recommendations they said they'd make to the building. So right now it's kind of in discussions, you know, how to move forward. There's some loading discussions, some ordinances that we could probably accommodate them to make things easier. But, you know, we're working with the space owners, you know, to let them know, hey, look, you know, we're working. We don't want these businesses to shy away from the community. But I think that's the biggest updates. The park, to you guys, it has kind of hit a stalemate. Obviously, at the end of the year, we had big discussions, you know, with Norfolk moving forward. So I think it's kind of died down a little bit. Obviously, this has been a winter that we haven't had in a very long time. And if you're familiar with construction, it's very hard to move frozen dirt. So as of right now, we are in active talks with the construction company, with Norfolk moving forward as to getting back on it as soon as the weather breaks, getting a action plan moving forward. So I think that's just probably the biggest update since we've kind of talked last.
Thank you, Lenny, for that. And just a few footnotes that we will be following up with you. So Ann recently spoke at a regional or state pharmacy convention for independent pharmacists, and I hosted on the podcast the dean for the Ohio Northern University Pharmacy School, which is one of the largest pharmacy schools in Ohio, where he highlighted the shifts and changes that we're seeing in the national landscape and how important it's not about the pharmacy, it's about the pharmacist for the small towns and the level of care that as pharmacists are disappearing from our markets, why it's now more important than ever that we support and get independent pharmacists back to our towns. So we'll do some footnotes on that and maybe provide some resources for the folks that are kicking the tires about opening, because I think that would be a very positive game changer for East Palestine to recruit that. The other thing is Kane serves on our Parks Department in the city of Bellefontaine, and he was Googling over all of the beautiful renderings and plans that are under development there. We have a lot of data and metrics when you choose to host tournaments and events in your town, how that can be a huge driver. And so just thinking through as you're resourcing up within the village, the people that are able to recruit and develop that is also, I think, going to be a huge economic development driver that we will actually provide some footnotes as we wrap up this report around that too, because I think that's going to be another big driver for the economic success locally.
Great. Into the recommendations. So we kind of are going to start with the individual properties and then move into more broader recommendations. But we'll start here with one of the first properties that we saw on our visit, the train depot. We do feel that this has tremendous potential as a cornerstone for the downtown revitalization. And some of the ideas that we have for potential businesses would be, first, as we discussed, a coffee shop or cafe. So a successful example of this would be the Depot in Urbana, Ohio, which combines a historical train depot setting with a modern coffee shop experience. It literally was in an old train depot. It has train tracks that go right by, and is kind of train themed there. Another idea would be a brewery with train heritage. So in Bellefontaine, we have Roundhouse Depot Brewing Company, which again is at the location of where we used to have a roundhouse in Bellefontaine, right next to the train tracks. So it's a brewery that celebrates train history and heritage.
And just to give a point, Lenny, you deserve the credit, and when this blows up as a good thing, the Brewseum is a Lenny copyrighted word. So I've actually used it a few times, so I may owe you a few bucks on that.
Yeah, exactly. So housing a microbrewery in there that features historic artifacts, train-themed decor, and also programming. There's plenty of space in there, so having this stuff would really provide a really fun, unique experience for visitors to come in and check it out. A third opportunity would be a hub for the Chamber of Commerce or tourism, a place that visitors could find local information, maps, find recommendations for things to do, while also showcasing local products and artisan goods for sale. Every community could use public restrooms, so this being that Chamber Tourism Hub could also be a location for the public restrooms in the downtown, which is a valuable amenity that makes the downtown more welcoming for visitors. So as the project is developed, as a new business starts looking at it or starts actually developing in it, we recommend incorporating historical design elements by using historic photos, postcards, and records to help guide design professionals and architects in creating these plans, but also using them as decor for the space to give it a kind of a nostalgic and educational atmosphere. So just to give you an idea, this is the Depot Coffee House in Urbana, Ohio. So a little bit smaller than what you're dealing with, but very similar in concept. This is the inside. And then this is the Roundhouse Depot Brewing Company. So less of a historic depot, but the theme we feel is something that could be more or less ripped and duplicated into the train depot. Second is the Skirball's building. So it with its size and location, it does make it a very strong candidate for a transformational mixed-use project. We know that the roof needs replaced and the walls need stabilized, but that's why we think that a grant like the Jobs Ohio Vibrant Community Grant would be a good opportunity for the community to pursue to help provide that financial support necessary to stabilize and renovate the property. So we feel like it can be redeveloped as a mixed-use property with retail or dining on the first floor, especially because of its size. A dining restaurant would be good there, and residential units on the upper floor. We also love the rooftop patio that it has up there. This can be transformed into a unique outdoor dining or event space, adding additional draw to the property. And we feel by integrating these residential spaces on the upper floors, the building would contribute to the downtown's ecosystem by increasing the local population, which then helps ensure a steady flow of activity in the downtown area. So stabilizing the building structure is the first and most critical step. So funding from programs like the Vibrant Communities Grant or the Ohio Historic Preservation Tax Credit, or looking to the Appalachian Regional Commission could help offset these costs. And this is where the CIC could also help play a key role in securing these funds. Next is the Main Street Place building. We love the idea of this being renovated or reimagined as a boutique hotel. It was a former hotel, so the building is already set up like a hotel. And as we talked about, lodging is always something that a community could use. And so by renovating this property to a modern boutique hotel could provide those much needed lodging options in downtown East Palestine. These would serve tourists, business travelers, and visitors attending local events. And we have some ideas on some event venues as well in our recommendations. So we put in here an example of a successful and beautiful boutique hotel, the DeFord in Ottawa, Ohio. If you're interested in learning more about what that looks like or how that operates, we do have the website here.
And just to highlight on the DeFord, that has been completed in the last 8 months. It was a recipient of a Jobs Ohio Vibrant Community Grant, and it is Ottawa is in Putnam County. Relatively small town. I think Ottawa's population is maybe about 7,000. And really it's a very rural farm community. So when you look at the links and the pictures of the DeFord, they've made a very aspiring vision there. But it's been, just in its first 6 months of kickoff and talking with the owners and the economic development professionals that have worked on that project, they're very pleased with how that's going. It also inspired another young couple to start the Ottawa Brewing Company just about a block away from this hotel, and those two businesses now work a lot together. So, but that link that's there in the notes is a really great template that I think could inspire the owners and the folks working on this project.
Next door is the historic theater building, and we really love the idea of redeveloping this to an event venue. Due to its size and its historical character, it is ideally suited to host weddings, receptions, corporate events, and community gatherings. So transforming the space into this event center would not only breathe new life into the building, but also generate significant economic benefits for local businesses, including caterers, the florist across the street, and potentially the boutique hotel and the adjacent Main Street Place building, if there's an operator that's able to do that.
And in the beginning, we shared the story of the restoration of the Holland Theater in Bellefontaine. I remember walking through the Holland 15 years ago when it looked just like your theater. And so today, the after pictures of the Holland, it's been through about $4 to $5 million of restoration. And in one of our recommendations, we've got a grant organization that we're going to share that I think is going to be pivotal for this theater.
Which is the Jeffries Family Foundation based in Wisconsin, which their whole mission is supporting the preservation of history and culture, specifically with Midwestern theaters. So they offer various grants that can be very helpful in the initial planning studies and capital campaigns needed for the theater's restoration. So as Jason mentioned, our Historical Holland Theater in downtown Bellefontaine received multiple grants throughout the last decade or two from this organization. That this is what the theater looks like right now. We have this historical marquee on the facade, and through a grant with the Jeffries Foundation, there was matching grant, so the community had to raise some funds as well. We were able to raise the funds to recreate that historic marquee that will be going back up on our Holland Theater hopefully in the next few months. Next is the Masons Lodge. So this is where the EPA Community Center is currently. 4 storefronts, a spacious upstairs. This would be a perfect opportunity for a mix of commercial businesses and community-focused tenants. So we know that there is a potential buyer who's already expressed interest in moving the thrift store into one of the spaces that would create an immediate anchor that would draw consistent foot traffic. The 4 storefronts provide an excellent opportunity to bring in a variety of businesses, such as retail shops, a coffee shop, and small professional offices. These would add diversity to the downtown retail ecosystem and continue to attract visitors to the area. The upstairs also offers significant untapped potential, so its size and layout would make it ideal for activity-based tenants such as karate studio, yoga studio, or dance academy. So we link here a couple businesses in downtown Bellefontaine that are in very similar spaces, actually above the Anytime Fitness that we have in the downtown. One of them is Legato Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the other is the Academy Dance Studio, which both those concepts would work really well in the large available spaces that are in the upstairs of the Masons Lodge. Next,
we're excited about this one. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So the old PNC Bank property, which was recently purchased by the CIC, is an exceptional site for redevelopment. And we'll get through this, and then I'll refer to Lenny or even Mike to discuss what potential plans there are for this property. But first and foremost, we feel that the drive-through makes it an ideal location for a coffee shop if you're interested in doing that, which would cater to busy commuters and downtown visitors. So we would look to the Winans Coffee in Sydney, Ohio as an example of how a relatively small property can be transformed into a thriving coffee shop with a convenient drive-through. And
just to share, we were at the opening of Winans in Marysville today is where we're at, but I think there's a total of 17 Winans stores throughout Ohio. This one in Sydney is one of the top 3 best stores in their network, and it is a very tiny footprint, but the benefit that you see that it has there is the drive-through window. And as I was looking at your property, this, I think, is a potential template to really run the play of doing something similar on that lot with the other uses and ideas that are being discussed. But as you think about this, and we put the link for it in there, and it's definitely worth, if you'd like to take a road trip down to see it or go through it, we'd be happy to make any of those connections. But this is one of the best performing stores out of their 17 store network.
Our other recommendation for this lot, because of the large open space, would be to create kind of a multifunctional outdoor space for events, gatherings, and recreation. We take inspiration from the South Euclid Mayfield Green District's Food Truck Park, which recently won Heritage Ohio's Best Placemaking Award. So East Palestine could design something similar for food trucks, could be used for farmers markets, live music, or other seasonal festivities. Which I don't have a picture of it in here, but I did link to the website for the project right here if you're interested in learning more. We do feel that this would be a very good use of this property. Next is the recommendation to revive the Dogs on the Run property. So we do feel that this is a very exciting potential for revitalization and economic activity, particularly as the warmer weather approaches. So one immediate opportunity that you can do is partner with a local food truck operator to set up outside the property, which would then utilize the existing seating during the warmer months to serve customers. A food truck is a low-risk and high-reward way to test the viability of the location while also offering a fresh and appealing dining option to residents and visitors. If it's successful, as we've seen with the Flying Pepper Canteen in Bellefontaine, the food truck operator might be inspired to transition into a permanent brick-and-mortar setup, either in preferably the Dogs on the Run facility or into another location elsewhere in the downtown. One enhancement that we would recommend to enhance the appeal and functionality for a potential renter or buyer is the addition of a small fryer and hood system. This would allow for a broader menu to include things that are more popular and more profitable. Expanding the capabilities of the kitchen would make the property more attractive, as I mentioned, to potential tenants or buyers. Some of these improvements would be relatively modest investments compared to the potential increase in revenue and customer draw they could generate.
And just to highlight on this one, we said if we could start just getting someone there kicking the tires on that highly visible corner and lot, other things that could be enhanced with this is maybe there's a putt-putt course that could be built in some of the paved area or other types of activities that recruit kids and families and people that want to come there while they also grab a snack or something else. But I definitely think that corner, and with the future of how Rite Aid, that building could be rebooted, certainly presents a big development opportunity.
So we know that some people are waiting to see what happens with this building before they look at the Dogs on the Run building, and we know that Dollar Tree is looking at it, which it would be great to have a tenant in there again, but some other potential recommendations or opportunities would be for the conversion of the space into a private pharmacy. For example, Meriton Health, which is a local hospital in the Logan County area, recently purchased the now closed Rite Aid building up in Russell's Point at Indian Lake, and they just opened up a new private pharmacy in the space there, so the property can continue to be used as a health facility. The building, we've also seen different communities repurpose these buildings for public use by government organizations, so turning them into office spaces for maybe county governments or city governments or stuff like this, which would provide essential government services while maintaining the property's role as an anchor close to the downtown area. And then another innovative idea to provide a amenity for the community to draw more people in would be to transform it into a destination attraction such as a children's museum, taking inspiration from the Buckeye Imagination Museum in Mansfield, Ohio, which showcases how interactive and family-oriented spaces can draw visitors from all across the region. So this is what the Buckeye Imagination Museum in Mansfield looks like. So it's just a large open space that they have built these little stations for kids to imagine in. So each one, you can see there's a little pretend dentist office here. They partnered with Donato's to do a pretend pizza shop, partnered with McDonald's to do a pretend McDonald's, and allows kids to get out of their home and actually imagine and create. So this is another thing that by partnering with local organizations or local businesses, if you find an operator to do it, would be a good use of that space as well.
I'm just going to take this one. So, over the last 30 years, we've seen a trend where a lot of school districts are moving from being inside a town or a market to moving out and building a new campus outside of town. There's a lot of really good logical reasons. Sometimes it's the programming of the space and the age of the space. But I would also say that there's a pendulum that's swinging back that sees when we take the schools or government offices and remove them to outside of the village or outside of the town, there can be negative impacts with that. And what we basically were able to do a cursory review and walk by of this building. I know it's a conversation that's happening in the community. What I don't know and was not part of our scope was looking into these facilities and fully kind of diving deep on the issue. I'm just sharing at a high level. I would spend a little bit of thoughtful time to look at if it is going to relocate, how we can keep as many of those employees and as many of those people, those bodies in the downtown, because we need them to buy coffee, we need them to eat, and we need them to shop. So that would just be my comment about this with our cursory review and walk by of the facility.
Our next recommendation is ways to make properties easier to show. So improving the presentation of vacant properties is a practical and impactful and relatively easy way to attract buyers or renters to breathe new life into underutilized spaces. So a lot of these spaces are filled with, as Jason calls them, treasures. But while these treasures may be valuable, they may obscure their potential or detract from their appeal. So first and foremost, cleaning out these spaces and then keeping storefront lights on to draw attention, or thoughtfully staging them with inspirational materials would help create a more inviting atmosphere that captures the imagination of potential investors. So the first step, as mentioned, is to declutter these vacant properties, and then the next step is to introduce visual elements that showcase their potential. As you can see here, for an available space that we have in Piqua. So introducing posters or easel displays in storefront windows that can display historical photos of the village or the building, renderings of what the building could potentially look like, or mood boards with inspirational designs. These visuals help tell a story about the space and really inspire people. Because an attractive and well-maintained property is more likely to catch the eye of someone walking or driving by. And we would also recommend promoting refreshed spaces and available spaces through the East Palestine community website, social media, or local real estate listings to help expand their visibility. And then last thing we also recommend is potentially doing guided tours or open houses that incorporate the historical and visual storytelling elements to help create a more memorable and engaging experience for prospective tenants. One thing Jason mentioned when we were talking about our Lofts 110 property in downtown Bellefontaine is doing a Loft and Hidden Spaces tour. So this would be an effective way to showcase vacant upper floor spaces and generate community excitement and encourage local investment in redevelopment. So by modeling it after other ones, a lot of communities do these, but specifically downtown Bellefontaine, it would offer locals a rare glimpse into newly renovated lofts, historic upper floor spaces, and also forgotten areas that have redevelopment potential. It could be a self-guided tour featuring several locations throughout the downtown, including completed spaces as well as underutilized spaces ready for transformation. When we did the Loft and Hidden Spaces tour to try and lease out those loft apartments, we raised funds that went and was donated to our local cancer society. In East Palestine, pre-sold tickets could help raise funds for maybe the Community Improvement Corporation or other local revitalization efforts, ensuring that the event not only raises awareness but also contributes to those ongoing redevelopment efforts as well. Getting people inside these spaces is important because it builds local buy-in and excitement, while also demonstrating the potential of upper floor development. Next is Cat's Crystals. Like we mentioned, we were very impressed with Cat's Crystals and everyone who's in there and what they're doing to help draw more business, not only to their business, but to other businesses throughout East Palestine as well. We also feel that Cat's Crystals has the potential to expand its offerings and become a multi-service destination in downtown East Palestine. They have 3 unused office spaces in the back, so we feel that the business could diversify by incorporating wellness services such as massages, Reiki, or salt therapy. These services would align with the store's focus on crystals, holistic healing, and wellness, and create a cohesive experience for customers while attracting new clientele. So all these different services would complement the existing business and bring additional foot traffic, salt room therapy, and other stuff like that. To implement these enhancements, they could sublease the office spaces to individual independent providers specializing in those wellness services. So the owner wouldn't necessarily have to be an expert in massages or salt therapy or whatever it is. An easy way for her to get a quick win would be renting out those spaces to a licensed massage therapist, a Reiki practitioner, or a salt therapy provider. So her business could generate consistent additional income without having to take on the full operational responsibilities of her offering those services directly. One thing the owner of Cat's Crystals did was she created an informal East Palestine area merchants group, and we definitely recommend building on this informal collaboration and maybe formalizing the group into an organized entity with a clear name and mission that would be able to create significant opportunities for collective growth and downtown promotion. So the group could work together to market the downtown as a destination, much like our Downtown Bellefontaine partnership does in Bellefontaine, coordinate events and manage other initiatives like the potential farmers market. So we recommend modeling the structure after the Main Street approach, which is here in Ohio, administered through Heritage Ohio, which provides a proven framework for success. And down here is a link to learn more about that program and their structure that you can model a formalized group after. So giving it a cohesive identity such as Downtown East Palestine Association or something similar would be able to strengthen collaboration among local business owners. Establishing a leadership team like a board chair, regular meeting schedule would provide structure and ensure accountability among the group. And the mission could focus on promoting downtown businesses, coordinating those events, and advocating for downtown improvements. This could also be a subgroup under the now existing CIC if that makes it a little bit easier to get it going and have a structure. Some things that they can do, grow existing events such as the Fall Fest into signature attractions and help plan more events like that. Potentially taking on a leading role in managing a farmer's market and other initiatives like that. Another downtown business that we absolutely love is the Flower Straight from the Heart, the floral shop there. We do feel and recommend that Flower Straight from the Heart can expand their offerings by incorporating gift personalizations through P-Gram Done. So this is a company actually in northeastern Ohio that provides high quality and customizable products that can align with the shop's focus on thoughtful and heartfelt gifts. So it's a really great company to work with because they not only provide these products that can be customized and personalized, but they can also provide the equipment for businesses to actually do the personalizations in their business physically themselves. So adding these personalized items would allow a shop to offer unique and one-of-a-kind gifts. The personalization services would create opportunities for repeat businesses as customers would return for special occasions or seasonal items, and it would they would all complement their existing product lines, making this a go-to destination for meaningful and customized gifts in the community. Another recommendation that we are very bullish on here at Small Nation is streetscaping in the downtown. We feel that this is a vital investment for revitalizing the downtown because it creates an attractive, functional, and pedestrian-friendly environment that encourages foot traffic and supports local businesses. So enhancing the visual appeal of the downtown transforms it into a vibrant destination. And by creating drama, so you can see here in this picture, this is right in front of our City Sweets and Creamery, the sweet shop in downtown. There's colorful benches, you see sidewalk signs, railings, flower pots. All these great things make the downtown more welcoming and friendly for folks in the community. There's a lot of benefits to streetscaping. It encourages foot traffic, increases local spending, raises property values, and attracts new businesses and investors. It would also help bolster East Palestine as a tourist destination, drawing visitors from neighboring communities and supporting local events and festivals. So there's a few different resources here about ways that streetscaping can be incorporated, as well as why it's important. Next is leveraging existing traffic from US Route 15. So there is a significant opportunity to capitalize on the 18,000 to 20,000 vehicles a day that pass just north of town on US Route 14. So there's different strategies that we can implement in order to attract these travelers, which so the first one is signage. So signage is essential. We always say at Small Nation that signage is the oldest and most effective form of advertising. So implementing more signage along US Route 14, professionally designed signs that highlight attractions such as the Candle Company, Train Depot, local dining options. These would encourage people to make the turn off of 14 and come right into the downtown. Establishing businesses and services near the route is also critical to capturing traffic and encouraging longer stops. Potentially having a quick drive-through coffee shop or a quick dining venue located near the highway could serve as an initial draw, which would then funnel visitors downtown. Other traveler-friendly services that could be established, such as clean restrooms, like we talked about with the Train Depot, EV charging stations, picnic areas, would really help make East Palestine a convenient and attractive stop for people passing through. Our next recommendation would be the establishment of an East Palestine farmers market. So this is a practical and low-cost initiative that could also generate significant economic and social benefits for the community. So there's markets currently nearby in Lisbon and Salem, which demonstrates the strong demand for fresh, locally sourced products, and establishing a new market in East Palestine on alternative days would avoid competition while capturing a new audience into downtown East Palestine. This would serve as an inviting event that would draw residents and visitors into the downtown, encouraging more spending at local businesses and providing an additional reason for people to visit the downtown. The farmers market is a relatively simple project to launch. The village can use existing spaces or parking lots as the venue. Vendors selling anything from products, baked goods, flowers, crafts could be invited to participate, which would provide a diverse range of offerings. And then holding the market on weekends or during evening hours would accommodate all sorts of working residents and make it very accessible to families. Beyond its immediate benefits, the farmers market could also serve as an incubator for small businesses. We've seen in Bellefontaine many businesses that started as vendors in the farmers market. A local bakery, for example, was going to the farmers markets, and then that local bakery became a tenant in the marketplace. And then because of their success there, they ended up opening up the morning ride, the brunch place that we talked about earlier. So this dynamic could really lead to new retail and dining options in the downtown, further revitalizing the area. The farmers market would also, most importantly, create more of a sense of community pride and engagement in the community. Next is a recommendation to flesh out a little further the East Palestine community website. So it's great that this resource already exists, but it could be built out a little bit more to fully engage residents and attract visitors, because it is a very key tool for sharing information and promoting the village. So by expanding the website to include different resources like day trip agendas, a dedicated events page, as well as positive stories about local businesses and attractions, East Palestine can position itself as a inviting and organized community. The well-designed and updated website will make it easier for people to plan their visits, learn about local happenings, and engage with the village. So adding a curated day trip agendas page is a simple yet effective way to attract visitors and inspire them to explore East Palestine. For example, on our downtown Bellefontaine website, we have a whole page for day agendas, which is linked down here. So if you're a grandparent, you're looking for ways to spend a day with your grandchild, or you're a group of girls and you're looking for a girls' day out, it could have, you can go onto the downtown Bellefontaine day trip agendas page and have the whole day planned for you, so you know exactly what to do, and you get to visit a wide range of businesses in the downtown. Additionally, a dedicated events page like you see here would centralize information about local happenings, which would make it easier for residents and visitors to stay informed. And then the website could also serve as a platform to showcase East Palestine's progress, businesses, and community pride. So posting regular updates on the website about ongoing projects, sharing success stories from local entrepreneurs, and profiling unique businesses would help build excitement and reinforce a very positive image of the village. WRL Advertising is doing a lot of professional photography and videography, which would be great to incorporate in the website to help enhance the site's visual appeal and storytelling impact. And then to continue with that is creating a downtown map and visitors guide. So this is a strategic way to promote East Palestine's businesses, attractions, and experiences to locals and visitors. So doing a printed guide that would be a tangible tool to introduce people to the village's offerings and encourage them to explore more of the downtown. So as we talked about, different business owners are sending visitors to different businesses, and people are learning about other places to visit just by word of mouth. So it would be great to have something like this in each of those businesses that has a map of the downtown, or as a community as a whole. It lists all the businesses, all the things to do. It makes it very easy for business owners and employees in those businesses to point to visitors other things to do to keep them in the downtown longer, which would support tourism, drive economic activity, and boost community pride. We also recommend, once this guide is done, making it available online via the East Palestine community website, and then promoting that digital guide through social media and local advertising to help further expand its reach. The guide should be reviewed and updated annually, just to make sure that new and changing businesses are updated, and make sure that all the information is relevant and is a reliable source. So Currently in downtown Bellefontaine, this initiative is managed jointly between Small Nation, our Downtown Bellefontaine Partnership, and our Visitors Bureau. That's just how we do it. This might be something that the newly created Merchants Group could do, or something that the East Palestine CIC would be able to manage as well.
And wow, what a marathon. Yeah, you guys survived. We survived too. And really, there's a lot of, when we worked on this report, and we appreciate everyone kind of bearing with us for that time, you have so many great assets and so many things that are catalytic and really big possibilities. What our hope is, we're going to take some time for some Q&A, but where we want to end up is, we don't want this report to be a one and done. We at Small Nation would love to see some prioritization amongst the community on what they see as some of the most important items and how we can be a partner in helping you move forward to champion. And I know we went through a lot of material today, a lot of different stuff, but we want to take some time. If there's any questions or thoughts or observations, and of course we'd love feedback too, but maybe take another 20 minutes here so we can maybe open up the floor to discuss that. And Lenny, do you kind of want to chime in first of how you'd like that to go?
Yeah, no, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you guys. To sit back and see your guys's, passion through what you've done in your own community and spread it amongst other communities, and especially right here in East Palestine, the hospitality that you guys gave our people that came to your village and or city, I should say, and got to experience your successes. I don't know if I can thank you enough. Right now, we are taking every resource that we have, opportunity that we have to create a better East Palestine. And, I know there's a lot of information in there that we kind of breezed through real quick. I was able to have the chance to kind of look through that, and I'm excited to be able to share that with everybody in the room or on this Zoom in the future, and or the community. I'm very impressed, and I just want to say thank you. So I guess I'll kind of leave it to anybody in the room here. We have several business owners, stakeholders, community leaders. So anybody in here have any questions off the get-go you'd like to start with? Now introduce yourself just before so they get a heads up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Cheney Nesbitt. I have a quick question about the concept of having, I can't remember what you called it, with the downtown business merchants creating like their own offshoot group. I guess I'd like to know where you feel the benefit of that is. I'm all about streamlining and making sure that we're all on the same page to the best of our abilities here. I think we have a much more robust Chamber of Commerce than we had in the past. And yes, I'm afraid that concept might make things a little bit more muddy here for us right now. And so I guess I'd like to know, what do you see that the benefit of creating something like that, in addition to having a strong Chamber of Commerce? How would we benefit with both?
Yeah, for a small village, you tend to look at the leaders and people that participate, and they're kind of on every board and wearing so many hats. I'm always thankful when people will step up to be involved in something, and especially being willing to lead something. With that said, we do want to try to avoid duplication. So if the Chamber of Commerce, a part of its mission and how it's governed is, having a focus on seeing some of these projects, seeing, promotions happen for merchants within the downtown, if it's able to do that in its scope and members are bought in, then that probably is the best vehicle to chart forward. But I'll also share one of the most common questions I get is, how do you get everyone in the town on the same page? And I kind of smile and giggle a little bit to say, sometimes you don't. And that's okay too. You may make your tent very big and kind of say the vision of what we're going to do or the projects that we're committed to. But there may be other people that pop up and say, listen, my passion is the street trees in town. And that is my sole mission. When I get up every day, I'm going to do the best to make the flower pots and the street trees look great. I'm here to champion those people. And then you may find, even within a restaurant ecosystem or a downtown ecosystem, the restaurants may have things that they want to do, and the retailers might have something they want to focus on. So you may see, when you create kind of the tent, you make your tent very big and everyone's welcome to be under the tent. But sometimes it's okay if there are subgroups that have a particular focus on a project or something that they want to do or champion. That may happen, and that's okay too. But I love that you mentioned that the chamber is there, and the chamber might be, and it sounds like is a really great vehicle to champion some of the recommendations and ideas here in the report.
Thank you, Jason. I have Ben Ratner here, owner of Libs Market. He's got a question for you as well.
Sure.
Hey, you might want to come over here just in case.
No, I was saying sometimes downtown groups in particular can do things or will have a focus that's more fine than like the chamber. The chamber would be a broader focus, whereas this downtown group might be specifically unified between.
And we have seen that just in terms of the comments. Sometimes the chamber scope is larger and bigger, but if that's the group that is the strongest and they're coming together to meet and there's structure, that may be the best place to start. Or you make a committee of the chamber that is kind of focused on those events. But sometimes, and this is what's happening with your village, I mean, you're growing, there's going to be a lot of momentum, a lot of energy, and you may find that there needs to be new subgroups out of that. But the goal is that I like the word streamline, I like the word simplicity. I just learned that community development is oftentimes messy because we just inherently are messy. But I think our goal is how do we get a few key projects that get people excited about movement and excited about progress, and is that really are something that create energy. That's like, did you see how nice the new signs look, or did you see how nice something as simple as the flower pots are? The more of those kind of things that we get, investors will take notice, building owners will take notice, the media will take notice, and that's the kind of positivity that we want to build with movement and next steps.
Thank you. So basically what I'm hearing you say is find the groups that have that key energy and let them work. Let them do what motivates them, kind of use it to your best interest as the community,
It's hard because certain people are called or pulled to a particular thing, and you have so many different, whether it's the parks, whether it's the depot, whether it's the CIC and this new property announcement. The issue that we have is capacity. And this is, again, where we might be able to help out further, is that the more people we can bring in that have capacity and knowledge that can help you move some of this forward. We're going to try to do as much with the local people that you have, but we're not going to accomplish everything in this report. Just so you know, it's taken us 15 plus years to do a lot of these things. So what we need to probably do is have your team go through and prioritize what are some of the quick hits that maybe we can get some momentum on pretty quickly. What are some things that maybe are not in this report that are already moving in your community that we need to make sure we are moving forward. But we're going to have to prioritize things because all this cannot happen overnight.
Jason, this is Antonio Diaz here. Thanks again for you and your team. You mentioned that we're not going to be able to accomplish all of this at once. I think that's great. And in the ideation phase, ideas are great. We can see the schematics. We know what the opportunities are. But in the end, this is going to come down to people with ideas, people who can materialize those ideas, and investment funds. And I'm curious as to what you guys have seen in Bellefontaine and other communities you've worked with. How are you attracting that investment fund from outside of your community? Because we have a lot of resources here and talent, but we're going to need more than just the organic growth from within the village.
So I started finding people that felt unappreciated and underappreciated in towns that were 45 minutes away from where I was working. And if you think about and you draw a circle right around East Palestine, and then, maybe it is, and I'll share, maybe it's a call to action that you want to host an event in your communities welcoming entrepreneurs to take the Loft and Hidden Spaces tour. Maybe it is that we find some funds and we pledge a business pitch competition that if someone's willing to open up or try something in East Palestine, that you're a place that's serious about doing good things and serious about supporting its entrepreneurs. And the people that I have met in your community, it reminds me a lot of the people in my small town. We're committed to rolling up our sleeves, doing the hard work, but we really want to we want to help people succeed. And I felt it, just like Lenny, you said you felt welcome in our village, in our town. We set out to create the vision to make Ohio's most lovable downtown. What does that mean? Well, it's a connection. It's an emotion. We want people to feel loved and feel like they belong there and feel that that they're well cared for. And so I think that's the kind of vibe that I get when I come to your town through all the tragedy that you've been through. And I think that's the message we need to get out. But wouldn't it be great that with some of the existing businesses, we start to get them either expanding some of their services, or maybe we get that coffee shop operator that says, I'm ready to take that leap. I'd like to start to get what those little incremental changes that people start talking about and the media picks up on because something big and positive is happening at a local business level.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jason. So, another thing that we've been discussing, and it's kind of echoed amongst the last couple of years, of that, East Palestine is not business friendly. East Palestine doesn't want business. East Palestine doesn't want growth. And, I guess that's more of a rumor mill statement. But I would be confident to say that I don't necessarily think East Palestine doesn't want business. We don't want growth. In the past, we just haven't known how to be growth positive. So, with right now, we're utilizing RCAP, and Roberta Streiford's here. And, I'm going to pass this to Barb. She's our new councilwoman and on the CIC, and have her give you a little heads up as to, the ways that we're looking to be pro-business and reaching our, resources out to local people. Barb, do you mind giving a heads up on that?
Sure. So we have been working with Roberta, and I know she's working with the chamber to try and get new businesses and give them education on how to open a business. And I believe that was I saw that on Facebook, they put that out there, right? And they want to invite other towns to come here. So I think that's great, get neighboring communities to come here to do that class. So maybe we can get some interaction that way. We've also talked to her about, leadership opportunities for the people on council and the department heads here to try and strengthen us as well so we can better serve. So we are excited to be able to reach out to other communities to have them come here and possibly give us some of their knowledge and help us move forward.
Barb, thanks for sharing those resources. And I'll just share that I think when people say or believe that they're not welcoming to new business, what I kind of find is that sometimes what that really is coming across as a preservation mindset, meaning we love our small, quaint town. We love the approachability of our favorite restaurant or our favorite hardware store, whatever that means to that person. But there's some fear about the innovation mindset, which is what could we become, or what, is the next iteration of change. And I actually think what is great about East Palestine, both can coexist and both brain types are important. We need preservation and we need innovation. So maybe when you hear that criticism in the community, we frame it that way because we actually want both of those things. We want to keep our small town, quaint, real, authentic version of who we are, but we want to innovate to welcoming, to keep young people in our town. We want to innovate to be a place where people want a day trip and people want to start a business. So maybe that's something we could unpack more and discuss. But I appreciate you bringing that up and sharing those resources.
No, thank you. I believe, in my own opinion, being in a leadership role now of my community representative for the last year, you're deciphering, okay, what didn't work? What's not working now? What can we change? Obviously, we have a lot of potential growth options in the future. We want to expand our footprint. We want to expand our manufacturing. We want to expand our business, expand our tax base. So that's a lot to take in, from going from a small dying village to now, we have these opportunities and resources that we want to make great, so prioritizing those. I appreciate you kind of saying that, what is rolling in now, what are the things that are working for you? Let's prioritize those. Let's, direct our energy to those. Let's get those small wins, and then, creating those small goals, leading to medium goals and the big goals. So thank you, Jason.
You got it.
Missy from 1820 has a question, Jason.
Jason and crew. I just wanted to point out also that part of downtown, which has really been, it's very important to me, has been the visual when you drive through. We get a lot of traffic down through here, and taking community pride in like your facade, your planters, keeping your sidewalks swept. I really liked the use of the signage that you guys use with the street signs. I love the idea of having the posts that have directionals pointing you to other businesses that might be located out other streets that aren't directly downtown. I think those are really great and could be part of that streetscaping. But as part of the CIC on the board now, I really love the idea of at least getting, while we're planning out that space and while we're coming up with how we're going to develop that, I love the idea of cleaning it up, getting those green spaces looking like we take pride in them, and making it visually and aesthetically pleasing so when people drive by, it's showing that sense of pride. And then possibilities will open up along the way where we can host art events, possible food truck events, entertainment, and utilize that space for the community, and then possibly along that way we will come up with the funds to develop it further. But I feel like we're on the right trajectory for creating a central location that the community can be proud of, and that when people drive through, they can see those changes and see what's happening right away. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that tackled over the next few months.
I really appreciate you mentioning that, and I also think that's the visuals are what is probably going to create the most excitement and energy around the possible progress. And I will share you what we normally do, a part of these presentations, and it's in our scope. It wasn't for this project, but it's something I'd like to follow up with Jobs Ohio, Mike, Lenny, and your team, is we normally bring in a professional architect and designer to look at each one of those recommendations and the ideas around it and actually create professional renderings of what those concepts could be. So like today when we were going through the boutique hotel, we would actually show an existing picture, a historic picture, but then also a fully well thought out rendering. And I do think that would be something that for not a lot more money could add a lot of, give a lot of clarity to some of these ideas. So we'll put that on notes to follow up with your team on that.
To add on to that, too, Melissa's point's really good. I've seen this done in other communities. Some I've walked into, and the aesthetic is very highly curated. It's designed. There's actually zoning regulations around what buildings must be colored, look like. But then I've walked into communities where that's happened and they're sterilized, right? They're completely organic. They're Panera nice, but they're not real nice. And then I've walked into places that, downtown Portland, where it is a complete cluttered mess, and then up the street, it's cluttered, but it's beautiful. What do you see the balance in communities you've worked with between a systematic approach to beautification and an organic but refined approach?
So I'm really big about incremental development. So I happen to live in Dublin, Ohio, and if you know much, Dublin's a suburb of Columbus, and probably one of the most highly planned out and highly regulated municipalities in the state when it comes to design, signage, and their color palettes and aesthetics. I will tell you, as an entrepreneur, I find it very frustrating to live in Dublin because I can never find things. The signs and the colors are all so muted, and to me, it all starts to look alike. So that would be more of my personal preference. But I've also, if you've never traveled to Yellow Springs, Ohio, which is kind of this arts district, kind of in the Dayton, Ohio region, and people love to take day trips there. It has a collection of more rust of what I call treasures, but just stuff on the sidewalks, because that's the eclectic version of that arts community and who they are. I think for East Palestine, it's a blend of the two. So I think things can happen incrementally, but wouldn't it be awesome that we start to get some renderings and some design standards of what we hope to become, but we give the creative freedom and flexibility for the process to evolve as some of these projects evolve. And that's kind of the approach we've taken here in Bellefontaine, is that we didn't have any design standards when we first started. Our zoning code was most recently updated in 1987, which is exciting in one stance because it was easy to get things done, but on it's scary on another, because what if someone does something really bad that hurts the overall neighborhood of the downtown? So I think you've got to find that balance that's authentically you, but my recommendation would be to incrementally go about this journey instead of coming in at a 20,000 foot view and adding a lot more. What typically I look at is red tape or friction points until we get the ball going. We really need to help the existing businesses be profitable and be excited about starting a second business and do more. And we're not quite there yet, but I think we're going to get there with some of these ideas and the circling of the wagons around good things happening in your community.
Thank you. And thanks for that. I think it was a great, topic of discussion to, yes, we have these wonderful businesses here, and, how do you expand these businesses? If we want to grow as a community, I think I'd like to say thank you on behalf of those ideas for those small businesses on, you don't necessarily need more space. And if you have the space, what can you do more in it to be more profitable? So thank you for those recommendations. I know they would greatly appreciate that.
Sure.
Hey, Jason and team, thanks for the presentation. Chris Page, Threshold, and CIC. So I just had kind of a brief update. I know Mike had to jump off. Just wanted to say we did get some numbers back from the architect here the last couple of days on what the build out of the depot would be. So we're excited for that progress. And I know it's pretty open now that we're trying to figure out a way to get Ben here with Libs. We also had a tap room come out of left field with some interest in that space. So we're trying to work through some details. So I wanted to just kind of give an update there since Mike jumped off. But I wanted to ask, looking at your priority list, top 4 things that you need, first one would be some sort of restaurant, food concept, coffee shop. Number 2, and you guys, for you, it was the pizza shop that was really your kind of flagship. It's a 15-year rebuilding process for you. How long after you brought that pizza shop to town did you really see the other businesses wanted to start joining?
So year 1 to 3 was the hardest, and mostly what we heard was all the negative. There's no parking. They would complain about the condition of the buildings and think that we should just tear most of them down to make more parking lots. And anytime anything new would open up, the amount of social media and just negative junk, it felt very, very lonely. So I think part of the capacity building of this team is we need to rally around the existing businesses. We need to rally around people that are, doing some bold things, but good things, and try to tune out a lot of the negative. Not that the negative isn't constructive feedback that we want to be aware of, but from year 3 to year 5, when we got 2 or 3 businesses that were working together, and the town started to develop a little bit of like this sense of pride of like, yeah, we already had other pizza places in town, but this one's really, really good. And other towns started driving to our town because we had a better version of pizza. And I think that's what we've got to figure out within East Palestine. What is it that we're most proud of? What's better that we have in our town, in your village, that's better than most places within 40 minutes? And how do we build more traffic, energy, and life around that? And it could be that this brewery, has heard your story and they're excited to like be the comeback kid. And I think that's kind of what you guys, you've been through so much, but you now are every version of the superhero story is you have the tragedy, you have the kryptonite, but now you're coming back. And I think there's a lot of brands that want to be a part of that. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that want to be a part of your comeback story. We just need to find them and allow them to play in the playground. And then you show them the great renderings, you show them the great buildings that you have, and you start to get that capital flowing. And I think we've got some building blocks to do that, but I think that's great news. Chris, thanks for sharing about the brewery, and I really hope to hear more about that and that progresses.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I think, if nobody else has any questions specifically, I'll put, we do, Miss Brenda?
So, when we were in Bellefontaine, we talked to you about the current person that owns a majority of the downtown businesses. Do you have any pointers on addressing that person? Because you talked about it in your proposal to clean up the inside of the building. That land is probably not going to do that. So what are some pointers as a group of us that we could maybe try to help that person to either do that, or I know you had mentioned down there, like you guys had put things over to the windows to make it look like the inside was redone, but it was just like kind of a sticker. Like any suggestions that we can help clean up that area? As Misty stated, when you drive through downtown, it looks terrible.
Yeah, well, I believe one thing when I was touring in there, I was happy to hear that it sounds like some of them may be listed with a real estate broker, and they're maybe getting to be putting some price tags on the buildings. Sometimes when I go into towns, they're not even willing to sell or not even willing to entertain an offer. So I'm hopeful that with the path and the momentum that your town's on, that there will be investors and people that will start to throw out meaningful offers for that real estate to exchange hands. If it doesn't, then maybe we have to work heavier through code enforcement with buildings that are vacant or buildings that are unsafe or buildings that are not being properly maintained. And so I think the carrot is, what can we do to incentivize the change in ownership in terms of the free market, other investors, other building owners buying those. The second, if that's not working, then we need to be looking and increase the ordinances and the codes and the fire inspections and the occupancy inspections of those buildings to ensure that they're safe and not going to be a nuisance to town or damage other properties or other building owners around it.
No, thank you very much. Anybody else online have any questions? Okay, now I got one here, Mr. Greg McCormick, that was with us that day as well. He's here today.
Just carrying on more off of Brenda's as possibilities for that, because I feel there's a lot of gamesmanship that's gone on with the properties going up for sale, and it's been a kind of a tennis match back and forth. Considering one of those properties in particular is kind of a pet store. So it's not really a pet store, more of a we'll call it a rescue. What are the possibilities of using health department? Because a warehouse full of cats if we want to play games and play hardball, then we can be Nolan Ryan and say, hey, that here comes the health department. Have you ever had to do something similar to that to say, well, now we have to go after this because it's a health hazard?
Yes. So I bought a building that the city had condemned the second and third story because the owner that I purchased for was very proud that he had never put a single dollar in the building for 30 years. And I inherited one of his tenants that became my tenant in a month-to-month lease that I had to go to municipal court to evict, but the fire department came through and took pictures and found cages of animals in the basement that the judge was appalled in court going through this, asked questions of the tenant. Are these alive animals? Are these dead animals? What are you doing? But the judge actually ended up ordering the eviction. I hated to have to go to court, but in some cases, it may be that through the ordinances of the city with health codes or with the property maintenance of the safety of that building could warrant the fire department to have to do an inspection. Now, I would get legal advice. I would, document everything. But I would happen to believe that if your village is like most, there is legislation, and if it's not the village code, the state fire code is another vehicle to go through to get emergency access to inspect the building.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
I have one last question too. So now that you guys are promoting these, finding these outside golden eggs, and bringing them into your community, and this could be something we talk about later, or you could answer now if feasible. Do you offer what is your package you offer these people? I mean, do you say, hey, look, for 10 years you pay us back this price, we put up the money, just for you guys as your own, entity, we market you, and then after this many years you're successful, you paid us off. Is that your strategy? Like, how do you really make it attainable for these outside golden eggs to want to come in and feel so supportive? What do you do for them? Not necessarily, outside,
So Lenny, I'll share a quick example. If you go to my Facebook page, my personal one, and anyone's welcome to friend me or follow, but I posted that I was at Easton Town Center 2 weeks ago because I saw a Facebook Marketplace post of a children's boutique that was listing all of its fixtures, displays, casework. They were going out of business. And I reached out to the owner through Facebook Marketplace because the fixtures were very high quality, looked very nice. And I said, I'm so sorry you're closing your business. What happened? And they shared that the landlord decided to non-renew their lease because there was a neighboring tenant that they decided to pursue and expand and take over their store. And they had been in business there they've been in business total for 15 years, but they've been in Easton, I think, for the last 6. But the owners wanted to sell. And so they made a price for all the fixtures in the store, including the cash wrap and the remaining point of sale and the systems they weren't going to use. We acquired that for a very reasonable amount of money. We've hired movers to move it all back to Bellefontaine today. And I made a post on Facebook saying I am seeking a children's clothing boutique for available space. All casework will be provided as a part of this lease. So maybe my investment is spending $3,000 or $4,000 in buying a full store of stuff. If someone was to go outfit all of that new, probably I would estimate it's probably $50,000 to $75,000 worth of slat wall casework, displays, and stuff. So what I try to do is find win-win-wins. And what it may be, if we get an empty space that's close to being occupied, we might come up with some quick hits to help an entrepreneur or small business say, I want to go in East Palestine because they've already got this set up for me, or they have this, or they're intentional about wanting to recruit this business type to their village.
Thank you. That's kind of been a question I've had for you since I think I first stepped feet in Bellefontaine. So I appreciate that. And after knowing you and dealing with you, I definitely understand how that's a success strategy for you. So thank you.
I think that's what we've got to find further is the authentic version of East Palestine and the opportunity. I still recall Nick and I were having a conversation with someone that was just visiting the village for the afternoon of the day, and she had a lot of personality. She's like, I actually really like this place. She said, you know why I'm here? She's like, I like to drive 30 minutes to go to the liquor store. And then she said, then I go over and I shop in 2 of the stores and I go back home. And we laughed at that, but that's an authentic driver of traffic to East Palestine. How do we capture and build upon that? And what are the businesses that complement those people that are coming over? And I think that's the kind of stuff of being, we don't want to do the same things that every old landlord and every old town are doing. We've got to find quick wins and hits that get close deals and get momentum and make money in East Palestine.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great way to end it there. Yes, sir.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. We have recorded this. We will be sharing the link with Lenny so we can get out the team and anyone else that has missed this. And Lenny, we do not want this to be a one and done arrangement. We would love to talk with you and Mike about how else we can be supportive as you guys prioritize some of these recommendations. But just thank you for everyone for being a part of this Zoom today and allowing us to share and present with you.
No, thank you so much. I think we'll retain this information over the next couple of weeks. I'd really like to kind of meet with this group and anybody who listened in today, probably a month from now. And then maybe we can touch base again and I'll give you an update and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day, guys. Appreciate it.
Good luck.